Zombicide 2nd edition. I was very excited when I saw that there was a new edition coming out of a game that I liked so much when it came out originally. And I don't know if you know this, but my copy got destroyed in a flood that hit my previous game room in a house where I used to live back in the day. And that's also why now my game room is above ground. So I haven't played the game in a long time. Very excited to discover it again. And so this review is not really going to be a comparative review. I'm just gonna pretend that I haven't played the previous edition in so long, and so I'm not able to do a comparison. Why should I pretend that? That's the truth. So Zombicide, a cooperative game in which we take on the role of a group of survivors during the zombie apocalypse. It is scenario based, and you have a good number of scenarios here at the end of the rule book, 25. With different terrain. You will use terrain tiles to set up the scenario, and so you're going to have different rules, different situations. The game is cooperative, and also you can play solitaire, simply controlling an entire group of survivors by yourself. And this is exactly how I played the game, because these are still times of pandemic, and it's going to be a while before I get game night going on again. The game really lends itself so well to be played solitaire. The game, just like the first edition, that part I remember, comes with a large number of plastic miniatures, and those are just great. I know that for some of you, the plastic miniatures are gonna be a big draw, so I think it's worth taking a closer look at them. You have abominations, which are the big baddies. It really takes 3 damages or a Molotov to remove one of these. Then we have our survivors, we have classic survivors, and then we have kids that are just a little sneakier and harder to hit. They do not have the same movement penalties as regular survivors when they enter or exit an area with zombies. So basically once per turn, they can move out of an area or through an area containing zombies without penalty, without having to spend extra actions, and that's pretty good. But just generally speaking, so these are just all the survivors. Some faces are familiar. They got the girl with the katana. The Michael Douglas kind of character reminds me of Michael Douglas in a movie from the 1990s, where he kind of lost his mind and also went around with firearms, stuff like that. And, oh, actually some more zombies here. Here we have the runners, which are the fast zombies. They take 2 actions per turn when they activate. And then we have the other zombies, which are 2 main kinds. The walker, which is just the most common kind. And you see you have so many models that really enriches the experience. All these ones here in light gray plastic, they're all functionally the same, but you have a lot of variety between the zombie preacher and other kinds of recognizable types and professions. So it's really easy to tell them apart. The walkers are light gray, the runners are dark gray and thin and in this very dynamic position. And then we have the pleasantly plumb, the heavy set. The game calls them fatties, and I'm not particularly fond of that description for people that have some meat on their bones, whether they are alive or undead. So, large number of miniatures that will go on the board with zombies, zombie hordes coming out of different locations. They pop up in buildings when you explore them, and then we have spawn zones represented by these tokens, and the scenario instructions will tell you where you place them. So each character will be, each survivor will be represented in the game by a miniature. You will match with a base, so you know which one is a red, blue, etc, etc. And so you match then that base with these color tokens that you place on the board. So I know that the player who controls that board now controls that survivor there. And we have the corresponding card of Amy. There she is. So the card will tell us the number of life points that the character has. When the character takes a hit, goes down by 1. When a hero goes down to 0 points, the character is dead and you lose the game. This is a cooperative game in which cooperation really matters. You're gonna take hits to protect your friends, because any one group member dies, then the entire group loses the game. You have 2 slots to indicate the weapons that the character is holding in their hands, and so these are the ones that can be actively used. You start with a number of starting weapons, and then during the game you will collect other cards, drawing them from this deck. From time to time you draw and it's not a weapon, it's a walker coming out of the closet or wherever, whatever that might be. And so suppose that we got, I don't know, a nice sniper rifle for our friend Amy, and then we also give her a crowbar because that's always useful. There you go. You can also have up to 3 items in your backpack, and your backpack is represented by these slots here, and so that's pretty cool. That's how your character area will look like once you set it up. Here on this side you have the skills based on the adrenaline level. You start with 0 adrenaline. As you kill zombies, your adrenaline goes up, and you keep track of that by moving that marker. Once you reach from blue yellow, then you move down this marker and you will gain new abilities and so on and so forth. Basically, moving to a new adrenaline level is what in other games we call leveling up, because now Amy, who started with the free move action, gets an extra regular action, whatever action she wants, and so she gets more actions. If she goes all the way to the red adrenaline level, then she'll have extra dice in combat and other abilities, and different characters will level up differently, acquiring different combinations of abilities. Here's the Michael Douglas guy. They also have different starting abilities, so a lot of variety here when you create your initial party. Here are the kids, as indicated by that, the funny face, the smiley face. So how does this work? You choose your scenario, you create the board, and you're gonna have probably 6 survivors. In the standard game, you're gonna have 6 survivors. I just placed there some random tasks just to give an idea what the board may look like at the beginning. We're gonna have survivors in some areas. We're gonna have spawn tokens, and again the objectives change so vastly from scenario to scenario, and discovering all that you can do and all the horrible ways in which you can die is part of the fun, is part of the game. Each turn will start with a player phase where the players activate the heroes, and each hero has 3 actions that can be spent with a lot of flexibility to do different things. For example, for an action, you can simply move from a zone to an adjacent zone, and you don't move diagonally, you only move orthogonally in this game. Again, there may be penalties based on the presence of zombies, because to move out of an area that has zombies in it will cost you extra actions. Moving in and staying there does not cost you. If you are inside a building, in an area inside a building and there are no zombies, you can spend an action to search. And again, you draw a card and hopefully you find a new useful and awesome item, and not one of these cards that will force you to face a new zombie that just popped out. If you have a tool that allows you to open doors, such as Amy has now, then you can spend an action to open a door, in which case we'll simply place a token there to indicate that that door is open for the rest of the game, and you can move through it. If that is the first time that you open a door to a building, then you have to check the dark areas, and for those dark areas to see if there are zombies in there, you will draw cards from the zombie deck. For example, we check for that area, and you look, the card will tell you the type that you encounter, plus the number based on the adrenaline level of the character with the highest adrenaline level. If you're a blue, then we just encountered 2 walkers there for that room, and we place them there. And then we check for that area, and we encounter Abomination. No, luckily enough, we are blue, so that doesn't happen. Suppose that this is the card that we get. We place 2 runners there. Boo, booyah, right there. An action can be spent to reorganize or trade, organize items in your area, trade items with other characters in the same area as the character who is spending an action. Objectives will be on the board, and they represent and mean different things depending on the scenario. Picking up an objective is, again, an action. You can choose to make noise. There are noise tokens that will affect the way the zombies move, and you can just spend an action to place a noise token in the area in which the active character is, and spending an action. And you can also choose to do nothing. However, there's an action that they left for last because, of course, it's the juicy action that everybody loves, which is to fight. To fight, you can perform a melee combat if you have a melee weapon and if you are in the same area, or you can perform a range attack if you have a ranged weapon and you have line of sight. And say, for example, here our friend Amy, in one of her hands, has a sniper rifle and she decides to use it. When we use a weapon, again, to attack, we need to use a card, a weapon card. That will tell us the range. This is a ranged weapon that has a nice range, 1, 2, 3. The number of dice that you roll, these are regular 6-sided dice, so I will roll 1 for that attack. The number that scores a hit, so for example, when I use this weapon, I'll score a hit if the die that I roll scores 3 or more, and the number of damage points that I inflict on the target. Also, this one does cause a noise token to enter the area or use the weapon. Usually when you fire into a group of zombies, you don't get to choose the order. That is, the first if there is a heavy set zombie that will take the hit. If there aren't any, then a walker will take a hit, and if still there aren't any, the only runners, then the runners, who are otherwise sneaky, take the hit. Unless you have abilities that will allow you to change that. And combat in melee works exactly the same. You simply refer to the stats that you find on a melee weapon that will have a range of 0, roll a die, score a hit on 4 or more, inflict 1 damage for each hit, and doesn't cause any noise. That's just the only difference. So after the heroes have taken their turn moving around, slaughtering zombies, and slaughtering zombies is important because each zombie that you kill gives you, booyah, an adrenaline point. So after that is the case, well, then the zombies do activate. During the zombie phase, first the zombies activate. Zombies that are in an area with a hero, simply, or multiple ones, simply attack them, and you automatically take damage. 1 point for each zombie. Our friend there takes 2 points of damage. That really needs to be avoided at all costs. So you really don't want to be in that situation at the beginning of the zombie phase. The zombies that don't attack get to move. They will move first. If there is a line of sight, they will move toward enemies in line of sight. Otherwise, they will follow noises and they will go for the space with the most noise. If there's an ambiguity, like there are 2 places where they could go, then they split. And that can be important because you can kind of manipulate the board with the noise and your position and line of sight to try to split larger groups and then take them down piecemeal. After that is done, after the zombies activated, again by attacking or by moving, it's time to spawn new friends, starting with the spawn token that has the number 1, and then going around the board. For each spawn area, you will simply draw a card, and again, based on the adrenaline level of the character, the highest adrenaline level, you will add the corresponding number of zombies to that area. Suppose we are yellow now, for example, and then we add 2 there. Then we'll look at that spawn token, draw another card, and sometimes instead of adding new ones for that spawn area, you will activate a kind of, you activate all walkers. So basically activate all models within a kind. So for example, all walkers take an extra activation. Those ones don't have anybody to attack, so they move, and so on and so forth. So each spawn area will usually take some new models. We sometimes activate right away. Sometimes the spawn area will simply cause extra activations, but that is the general idea. So you alternate turns between the heroes that take 3 actions each: move, pick up objectives, break stuff, find stuff, kill zombies, and then the zombies that activate and then spawn. Continue like this turn after turn until either you lose based on standard conditions or maybe some special conditions in the scenarios, or until you complete the objectives of the scenario, in which case you and or your group win the game. Zombicide has always been fun, and Zombicide 2nd Edition is still fun, or fun again. And fun is just what the game is about. It's about this over-the-top, intense action. It's like you are in a movie, an action movie that is not one of those with the zombies or some metaphor for late capitalism or xenophobia, or no, they're just zombies that you can blow up and shoot and cut to pieces with a katana or with a chainsaw. You can throw a Molotov in an area that is overpopulated with zombies. You see them burst into flames. The adrenaline goes up for the character and you. And it's all about the action, and this is not trivial because the game is mechanically, in my opinion, very solid, but the mechanics as you play sort of fade into the background because they're tailored so well to their theme. They represent their topics so well, which in turn also makes it easier to play the game because everything is so intuitive. Chainsaw, katanas, molotovs, and everything like that works the way we expect it to work from fiction about the topic. The kids sneak around and they're really hard to kill, like in movies where you have kids as secondary characters. They are just so hard to kill apparently. Everything makes sense. So you really can enjoy the story through the mechanics, because ultimately you're still optimizing things, but everything feels so visceral and so thematic. And actually comes to, again, the mechanics and the interplay between mechanics and theme. To me, that really is where the game shines, in the flexibility that you have of organizing your actions, timing things or chaining effects, and ultimately your gameplay can be pretty sophisticated. You can have very, very sophisticated, subtle synergies with one character is trapped, surrounded by zombies, but they have an element, an item that somebody else needs. So you send one character in to help them and kill the zombies that are trapping them. Then the character goes and breaks down a door with a crowbar. Another character with a search ability goes in and captures some important item, and so on and so forth. So between the characters that have different abilities, and within each activation, you can play different actions in different order. You're going to have a very flexible gameplay that is going to adapt to a lot of different situations, different play styles. And so each turn really is its own mini puzzle with a lot of different options, a lot of different things that you can do. So I like it for the theme, but I also like it for the gameplay that really brings the theme to life. So I'm very, very happy with Zombicide. The production values are really, really high. Those miniatures, I don't need to paint them, and I'm already very pleased and happy with them. If you paint them, then I think the game is going to be a real stunner. We have those tiles, those scenarios, those dice. There's just so much good stuff that you can find, that you find in this game, that from the point of view of the production, and again, of replay value, you really get, I believe, good value for your money. So I'm really, really happy with Zombicide. It's fun, it's intense, being solitaire friendly. You can also play when your friends are not around, which of course, if you're a busy gamer such as myself and you play at odd hours, is always an advantage. So only good things. I only have good things about Zombicide to say, because it's fun, it's a great production, the rulebook really helps you get playing faster or get reacquainted with the game, such as my case. So Real fun, real fun, real fun. Only good things from me about Zombicide 2nd edition.